Bitcoin has seen a significant crash towards the downside, and on today's update video I will be talking about my trade, which is also a little bit underwater right now, but I'm gonna be exactly explaining about what I'm currently doing with this trade, what I'm expecting next on Bitcoin, what are we currently seeing here on the daily time frame, what is happening with the spot Bitcoin ETF outflows, and just many more important charts we need to discuss on today's update videos. So don't forget to once again slap up that like button back above 1000 likes. That will be highly appreciated. And let me start jumping in towards the content, because yes, yesterday we've seen a significant dump towards the downside on Bitcoin, and yes, this is actually something we've been talking about many times before on the channel, because I have always said that I had set up my orders on this orange box right here and on those green lines, and that is exactly what I've done. I have bought Bitcoin over here, I've bought it over here, and I had set my first order over here. So I had 3 orders set up where I was opening up my long positions on with Bitcoin, and now I've built up my position and I've got one final order set up around $56,000, but that one unfortunately has not been filled up yet. But currently we have seen that Bitcoin had seen a significant dip towards the downside, and actually we've been coming back towards this region right here, which previously ran flipped into resistance, then flipped into support, and then Bitcoin of course saw the next leg towards the upside. So Bitcoin found some support on that level, bounced towards the upside from it, but still is consolidating somewhere around 57 to 58,000 US dollars. And basically all we're seeing is still that Bitcoin is in a bearish trend, and that is of course an important thing to identify. But I straight away want to be pointing out to everyone out there is that yes, while we've seen a significant drop towards the downside, in these periods on the market, you usually feel like, oh, damn, everything is going wrong. Bitcoin is going lower. We're not going to come back up. The bull market is over. You've got all these kinds of feelings. But of course, that is a thing you should not be having if you are a real patient trader. And this is really part of my strategy. And this is also really the point where I believe the maximum return could be made here. Because yes, in every single Bitcoin correction in this bull market so far, we've only seen 20% corrections approximately. And now we're seeing a 23.5% correction, which is by far the largest, but of course not by insignificant amounts. It is clearly indicating for me that potentially, indeed, we are potentially bottoming out here. And also a very interesting signal is that the spot Bitcoin ETF saw tons of outflows yesterday. Also, especially the BlackRock and Fidelity ETF saw a lot of outflows. But an important thing to know here is that the spot ETF is not necessarily smart money, because there are individuals buying and selling Bitcoin through the spot Bitcoin ETFs, of course. And last time, while we were sitting at all-time high, we were seeing record inflows on the spot Bitcoin ETF. And right now, while we are indeed going down in value, we're seeing record outflows on the spot Bitcoin ETF. So this also clearly means that there's a lot of panic in the market. And of course, as more people are panic selling, the better it is for the market, and the more likely it is actually going to be that we're just going to be continuing even higher. So Bitcoin came down towards the region, and I think that, of course, I can't base my analysis on this pure chart right here, but I want to be also looking at the data from the liquidity side, because it is even getting more interested right now than it already was. Because I don't see a reason why Bitcoin is going to be falling down to $53,000 or $52,000, which of course a lot of people are anticipating, because there are almost no liquidations laying around that level. You can see that, yes, if we go down to 56K, there are going to be still some liquidations, but afterwards, there's almost no liquidity in the market. Well, if we're going to be looking at the short liquidations, there is so much short liquidity laying above us, which gives me a very clear opinion that most likely Bitcoin is going to take out all the short liquidity instead of the long liquidity we've already taken out of the market. So yeah, there is still a significant amount of liquidity being built up above us, around $67,000. And I just won't be surprised, since the funding rates are negative, since Bitcoin is coming down, that we are eventually going to be pushing back towards the upside, especially since we right now created that 23% correction and take out the liquidity on the top side. And yes, this structure, you may be looking at it and think like, oh, but this is looking extremely bearish. But you have to understand that if I'm just going to be looking at the daily time frame, what we can currently see here is that if I'm currently looking at the daily time frame, what we can currently see is that all the liquidity on the lower side, which were these candles right here, are right now taken out, and there's only loose liquidity on the top side, which also, first of all, of course, means that if Bitcoin breaks towards the upside, we don't have the liquidity laying below us, but also that so many traders got faked out because people are all calling for $52,000. Well, I've been calling for this move towards the downside all time long on my channel. I've talked about how we're most likely going to come back in towards the orange box here and how we're most likely going to be filling up my orders, and that is exactly what I've done so far. And yes, so far I'm a little bit in the water, but still I am planning to buy even more Bitcoin positions if we come down to $56,000. And honestly, I'm not all too worried about my position right now here. And I am currently long within about $900,000, and I'm still looking to be expanding my position as Bitcoin comes lower. So if you want to be trading yourself, check out Bybit in the link description of today's video, because if you go to the link description of today's video, you will find this link right here. And if you press on that link, you will get a free $200 position on Bitcoin or Ethereum. And all you need to do for that is literally sign up an account using that link below and deposit $100 in your first 7 days. And boom, you're getting a free $200 trade. And if you're opening up a long position with a free $200 trade you're getting, you could potentially make a ton of money if Bitcoin is going to be starting to be bouncing from off this level. And with the funding rates being so negative, I'm actually also getting paid to be in my position, which is also quite nice if you would ask me here. So yes, we're seeing a lot of signs that Bitcoin, of course, is potentially reversing on the bigger perspective, but still on the 3-day time frame, we're holding that daily super trend. And yes, as long as we're holding the super trend indicator, I think we're still looking quite okay here. But of course, this is one of the most important support levels we need to be holding for Bitcoin. And just like I said many times before, we're just seeing a slight little rejection here on the weekly time frame, and it's nothing all too bad to be worrying about. We've seen this many times before here in the previous bull market. And yes, if I'm also looking at the weekly time frame, we can see that the RSI is dipping significantly down here. And actually, we are creating, of course, a higher low on the price action and a lower low on the RSI, which means that we're creating a hidden bullish divergence on the weekly RSI if we're going to be confirming it. Of course, it's not confirmed yet, but we are potentially creating a hidden bullish divergence on the weekly RSI, which is, of course, quite insane if you would ask me here. But currently, all we're seeing is a slight little correction downwards for Bitcoin. And if I'm going to be looking back in that previous bull market, we've seen this happening many times before. And every single time, we've actually recovered. And many times that we, of course, saw that correction, most people got faked out, most people got fooled, and they missed that entire rally towards the upside. And of course, this cycle is not going to be exactly the same as last cycle, but one thing we learned here, and that is, of course, that we need to be looking at things that happened this cycle that are most likely going to repeat the entire cycle ahead of ourselves. And this 20 to 23% correction phases is maybe something we should really pay attention towards. And I do really believe that there's a very high likelihood that this is actually going to be the Bitcoin bottom. And yes, if this is really the Bitcoin bottom, I'm going to be making, of course, a ton of money with my position right here, which is currently still in the water, but I am very confident with, because the liquidity is being built up above us. So this was it for me in today's update video. It was definitely a very interesting one. A lot of stuff is finally happening back in the market, so I've got some stuff to talk about, my new trade, and many more stuff. So we'll be back tomorrow with another update video where I'm going to be updating my trade, what I'm seeing in the market, what I'm doing. Maybe I'm going to close my trade, maybe not. But of course, for that, you need to be watching tomorrow's video. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out. Goodbye.